February 19th, my family dropped me off at JFK Airport and I took a direct flight from New York to Santiago, Chile. I was joined by a new friend, Lucy, and on the flight we talked and got to know each other. We landed in the morning after a night of basically no sleep and met up with a few other girls whose flights had gotten in at similar times, Catherine, Aislene, and Kayla, and we went through customs together, got our bags, and then of course got Dunkin' Donuts before meeting up with the whole SIT group in the chapel of the airport. It was a blur of introductions that was both exhilarating and exhausting, meeting everyone. And we got on the bus and went to Valparaíso, and we saw our first tsunami sign, which definitely freaked me out. And then we had lunch in Club Alemán, which became an infamous spot to the SIT group because that's where we had every lunch of orientation. After lunch, me and a few other girls decided to, instead of go back and nap like we probably should have, of course we wanted to explore this big new city, and so we walked around the Plaza Victoria area. We had some more orientation stuff at night and had a really small dinner of Caesar salad. So then, as a group, we went to a completo shop, and me and Talia tried our first completo. It was a mixed review, for sure, but it was nice. And then in a bigger group, we walked around, and we went to the Plaza Sotomayor area and the port, marking our first day in Valparaíso.
Tough steel.
Oh, you see them go really fast and like,
If they stand up and then explode, they like.
they go crazy.
Should we take a cute little photo?
The rest of orientation week felt so long as we were getting used to this new city. We had so many activities like the drop-off, where we had to wander the streets with a randomly assigned pair and ask Chileans to help us get to local spots. And it was just a lot of exploring and getting to know the city and getting to know the country and the culture. One interesting thing was that I did get poisoned by a hotel in Valparaíso because I did have a major allergic reaction to some reineta fish. But also Lucy had it, so that made us think maybe it was not an allergy and there was something actually wrong with that fish. So that was an adventure. But yeah, just a lot of exploring, getting to know the city, and getting to know the other awesome people on the program.
It's funny because my boyfriend went to study about.
Some of the biggest culture shocks of the first week in Valparaiso were definitely the dogs on the street, because there were so many stray dogs, and also all the vendors out on the street selling everything, all the most random things. But it was so great. Here you can see we went to a big Mexican restaurant with a group, and then all of the SIT people just wandered in, and we ended up taking a big group photo, and so that was really fun. And then later that night we did go to the Club Woo and had my first Chilean club experience, which was definitely fun. Well, definitely interesting, especially when Charlie ran around the streets super drunk after, and Lauren was on a mission to get something to eat at like 1 a.m. The end of orientation week, we met our host families, and I met the infamous Sarah Angelica and her husband Luis, and I settled into her house. Es la cocina. La cocina. Y luego el baño. Y mi sala. Es mi sala. Salas y aquí. The first weekend in Viña del Mar, because that's where I was living, in Recreo in Viña del Mar, was really fun. The moms of all the host moms in Recreo took us on a little tour, taught us how to use the micro and go to Casa Seat, and then Charlie's mom took us to the beach, which was super fun. It was just a lot of walking around and exploring and getting used to the place. Of course, it was beautiful weather, so me and the girls had to go to the beach and take advantage of that. Micro system, and micro is the name for bus in Valparaiso and Viña. The micro system was so interesting. It was not like a traditional American public transit system. There wasn't a set schedule, and there honestly, even there weren't many set stops. Basically, what would happen is you would go to a street where you know is the route of the bus, and there are general stopping areas, but it's not like the bus is going to stop at every one of those stops in order. So what happens is you're standing at one of those areas, and you just have to be watching. You have to be watching to see if you see your bus, and if you do, you stick your hand out and wave it down, and hopefully it will stop for you. Sometimes it does not, and that was really annoying. And then you have to have your coins ready, because you have to pay in like coins. Sometimes you can pay with like a bill, but you pay with coins. So then you go up to the driver and you give him the amount of coins, and he might tell you that it's wrong because they don't all charge the same, and it's a very loose pay system. So then you do that, you sit down, if you can get a seat, and it's very bumpy, and then once you're about to pass where your stop is, you just have to get up and press the button or yell and say, hey, this is my stop, and then you get off. Every experience was new, every experience was cultural, and it was definitely one of my favorite, but really just one of the most intense experiences of living there and being a part of the community. We started having classes at Casa Seat. The classes were definitely interesting. No, they weren't. They were actually pretty boring, and most of the time I was in class, I spent either on Sudoku or Cooking Fever, and the seminars were just really long and hard to continuously pay attention because it was just in Spanish and the professor's talking at us the whole time. Really the highlights of Casa Seat were the lunch times and being able to sit outside and talk to everyone and hang out with friends, and also the fact that they had free candy that we definitely took advantage of. Was in the Violeta Parra section, which was the level 1, the lowest level Spanish class, but that's fine. It was definitely an experience, and it was interesting, that's for sure. One day, after climbing at the Torna Mesa climbing gym, me and Talia joined a big group at the Portales beach, and it was just super fun to hang out with a bunch of Casa Seat people at the beach. Turning 20 was definitely fun. Sarah Angelica was sweet and put up a little banner for me, and then we went out to a Mexican restaurant and then to a club, but it was super empty because we went too early, and then we were tired, so we left before all the people showed up.
Los Aires, años feliz, Eli.
I loved just walking around and exploring Recreo. It was such a cute neighborhood with great views of the ocean. One of the field trips that we did for Spanish class was we went to the Placia, which was so cool. It's this area like 45 minutes outside of Valparaíso, with this cool nature area that we were able to walk around and hike, and we saw a beautiful waterfall together. They did give us these gross egg sandwiches to eat, which I'm still weirded out about.
I love childlike wonder. Harvey.
It was fun after the hike. We all jumped in a lake together in our underwear and swam around, and it was so cool. Another fun memory was when me and Estelle walked all the way from Recreo to Playa de Portes, which is really far, by the way. I don't actually know how far, but it's quite a distance. And then we met up with a bunch of people, and we went to the beach, and then we played some volleyball, and then a bunch of like Norwegians joined us, including Bror, who became a recurring character because he also went to Valparaíso. So that was a very fun day. A really funny story that happened was Lo siento frijo. So basically we were all just eating our little lunch at Casa Seat, and this old lady comes up and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I think my cat is in your tree. And Danilo comes out and he's like, oh yeah, your cat is in our tree. And we all look up and there's this little cat that was right above us in the bush. And she's like trying everything. She's calling him. This cat will not come down. And finally Danilo goes, he gets a ladder, and she insists on going up herself. So this little old lady climbs the ladder, and she's trying to get this cat, and he still won't come down. And so finally she asks, and Danilo does it. He brings out a broom, and she goes, "Lo siento, Frijo." Frijo was the name of the cat. She goes, "Lo siento, Frijo." Bam! Bam! Hits, and this cat comes down, and she catches him. And it was crazy. It was so funny. La Feria, we went there for another Spanish field trip. It was really cool. It's this cool big fair in Avenida Argentina where they have people selling everything, including these giant mounds of like American t-shirts with English phrases, which is really common for Chilean people to just like wear. It's just like random English shirts, which has always been funny. And I actually found a Kalahari shirt, which is right by where we went for senior week, which was crazy. And it's right in Pennsylvania. So small world moment. I did also in Eureka see someone wearing like a Mechanicsburg High School shirt, which is crazy because Mechanicsburg is like right next to me and is also just like a small Pennsylvanian school. So that was wild. This is a fun little memory. One day after Casa C, a bunch of us went to a botelleria, and then we just sat on the steps and we like had a few beers and like just smoked on the steps with like a beautiful view of the ocean. It was wonderful. One of the 2 excursions that we did with the SEAT program was we went to the south and we went to Chapad, which is right outside of Temuco, and it was just such an amazing experience. It was so cool. We stayed for and it was so cool. I had sopapillas for the first time, which oh my gosh were amazing, and we had classes in Aruca, which is like it's like a there's a word for it, like a hut, I guess, but it was so cool. And then we played a lot of like soccer with the community and just with each other, and also Paline, which is kind of like hockey. And then we had a talent show also where I did a little magic trick and had some like music by the people. And then we also did a service act where we made some mud and then helped prepare the walls. It was really just amazing. Such a good experience.
Y ahora, en este espacio, voy.
Because I'm having a good time, having a good time. I'm a shooting star, like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car, passing by like Lady Godiva. I wanna go, there's no stopping me.
I really loved my host family from the south. They were super nice. That was their house that I was just showing. And yeah, so it was a great experience. I really loved it. And I was rooming with La Estelle, which of course made it even more amazing. Over the entire semester in Chile, I really did just have a lot of experiences with animals, which I wasn't expecting or hoping for necessarily, because there were just so many stray dogs in Valparaíso, and especially in the south, there were so many interactions with animals because everyone had like their own little granja. And lots of cats too, just like outside cats, but there were these really adorable kittens in the south. So that was actually good. And a dog named Fluffy, who me and Estelle befriended on our hike to a river, which actually ended up being freezing. And then the dog, Fluffy, followed us and slept outside of our host parents' house for the night because he fell in love with me. Unfortunately, returning back to Viña del Mar did mean returning back to Sarah Angelica and her food. I don't want to go into too much negativity about my host family because this is a fun vlog, but I did have some struggles with the food. Here are pictured many of my meals that I ate. It was definitely not a gastronomically good experience living with Sarah Angelica, but it definitely taught me a lot, and I think I'm a less picky eater now than I was when I went there. The weekend I went back was Easter weekend, back from the south, and I went with Estelle's host family to this fisherman's festival where they also hang Judas, which was interesting. And then on Easter Sunday, I went on a little walk exploring, and I broke into the hotel and had some free food, and it was very fun. In general, my time here, I was doing a lot of walks. You can see here my Strabas. It was so fun because just like the weather was gorgeous, it was such a walkable area and so much exploring to do, so why not? I've drunk in every single corner of this intersection. Here we went out with a bunch of people from the program. I took like 4 shots and I got fucked up. There, I'm gonna still just like share the drink. There, a bunch of birds for everything met up. And then we still have a drink. So every 4 corners of the One really fun night out was when we went to this bar Vaughn in the Toro Negro area, and like we went with a big group of Casa Seat people, and it was really awesome. And of course, we ended up at McDonald's after.
Memories.
Oh, where's there?
Truancy person.
Your mom was playing both sides.
Exactly.
I haven't heard the word.
I want to just shout out the beach time that I had here in Viña. Actually so amazing, leaving the cold, dark winter of Pennsylvania and Marist to go to sunny, beautiful Viña del Mar was amazing, and I definitely spent a lot of time on the beach. Not much time in the ocean because it was freezing and the waves were so strong, but just laying down on the sand was so nice. One interesting cultural thing here was that there's a lot more vendors on the beach here than beaches in America, and there would be a lot of people walking up and down selling food, drinks, which was really interesting to know. This was one really fun day where me, Estelle, and Elena walked from Recreo to I think 2 or 3 Norte to a beach right by the pier, and then Talia joined us, and it was just really fun. And then after we spent some time on the beach just talking and looking at, the beautiful ocean, we walked and watched the sunset, and there was this live music, and it was just a really magical day. The ex-car cell was a really cool space. It was this jail that was used during the Pinochet period, and it was turned into a cultural space for the community to be in for their... Lord Cochrane Hill. Someone left out dog food for the strays. There's Little Bro. It's the corner where we met for school every day. This hill is the bane of my existence. It's so freaking stupid. Little Bro is where we love to get pints of sangria. Yeah, it's a nice place. I have a lot of good memories. One spot that me and the whole group came to love in Recreo that was right by all of our houses we called La Ledge. It was this ledge right, literally a 2-minute walk from my house, and it was such a good spot to go at night and drink or smoke and just look at the ocean and chat. It was wonderful.
So sweet and cute.
I love my friends. I miss them
So awesome.
They are so awesome. All of them are just the most kind.
Slow slouched while you took that.
Sorry. I'm a little emotional tonight, just how I'm gonna look back on this time and how amazing a time I'm having and how happy I am. And it's just, I don't know, hard thinking about how this is gonna be a memory and a time I'm missing. But yeah, it's April 12th, I'm in my room at night after smoking a joint with Elena, and it was a wonderful day at the beach and just walking around. I love Valparaíso, I love Viña del Mar, I love this room and this really weird host family situation because I love being here. And that's it. Good night. And soon enough, it was time for our next excursion. The SIT group then went to Ica for our excursion to the north. So we had to leave super early in the morning for some reason because of how flights worked out. So we left at we had to meet at 1:30 or 2 a.m. in Plaza Sotomayor of Valparaíso, and then go to the airport and fly to Arica, where we then checked into the Hotel Arica, which was this like really fancy, nice hotel there that had a pool and really yummy food. And it was really nice exploring that area. Arica is in the Atacama Desert, which made it so cool to see a lot of the like nature and ecology there, because it was nothing like I'd ever seen before. We also went to Tacna, Peru on a day trip from Arica to renew our visas, which was cool. We did spend most of the day in a really bad shopping mall, but the food we got when we went to lunch was pretty good, and it was good to, I guess, cross another country off my bucket list.
From a previous time.
Then it was time to go to Putre, which we were really excited for. Putre is a town that's about 11,000 feet in elevation in the mountains in the Atacama, and it was absolutely incredible. It literally looked like Mars going up there, and we did have to stop halfway to acclimatize and drink some coca tea, which comes from the same plant as cocaine, which is kind of crazy. But I acclimatized fine. Fortunately, some kids did get sick. But it was really cool. The first day there, we had class on a farm, and we got to speak to a local farmer who told us about a lot of the struggles of the local community, but also just how the agriculture works in that part of the world, and it was super interesting. And it was just really cool in general living with our host family. So I was rooming with Talia for this portion, and our host family owned a mini mart, which was really cool to like kind of see that business lens of running a business in Putre. One of my best memories was going on a hike there with Talia and our host sister Camila, and then Elena, Henry, and Mary also joined us for that, which was just awesome.
¿Lista? ¡Me encanta mi vida!
Another really fun memory from Putre was going to the hot springs with Henry and Talia, and that was so fun. It was so fun. We also had like a delicious lunch there from our host family, so that was awesome. It's a little farm. There's Talia. That's where we stayed.
Hi.
Sí, son las 10:35. 10:35.
So unfortunately, that was us leaving Putre. We did have to leave Putre like a full day and a half early because 2 kids got really sick. One with walking pneumonia and one with just like not being able to adjust to the altitude. So that was sad, but it gave us a bonus day in Arica where we could go back to another climbing gym and then do this cool walk and get some good food. So here I just kind of wanted to show another side of just like what you see when you're going down the streets of Valparaíso. So this was just me on a micro ride. I was just like, oh, I decided I wanted to film this because you can just see there's so many vendors on the streets, lots of people walking around, even during like the work day. That's something I really loved, is there were always people walking around. And then you can also see the dogs. But yeah, this is just what you see looking out the window from a micro, from a bus going around Valparaíso. So coming back from Arica, it was the end of classes and we started our ISP period where we were all doing individual research. So it was just a lot more of working from cafes and then also working from here. This was the U that we studied at so much. On a hike with Talia and Renyaka. fucking Valparaíso and Club Blue on the roof because I'm too drunk to go back. This is such a great fucking night. Oh my god. Wait, I'll show you the roof.
It's always different colors.
Yes! Oh, it's so pretty.
Dude. Come on. Positivando.
Yeah, so here's Torna Mesa, one of the climbing gyms that we really got into, where I really just learned to climb and was having a lot of fun at. So there's Torna Mesa, and then something we love to do after going to the gym, or at least I love to do, was walking back along Playa Portales and just watching the sunset, and, you know, the men doing calisthenics doesn't hurt, because Playa Portales was right there. We still have flowers.
Yeah, we still have flowers.
Sí, es que voy a ver aquí como varias señales, pero hay una que es la que más tiene, ¿cómo se llama?
Wait, this was the actual castle?
Like, I think it was an actual castle, perhaps.
Like
It's not usually open all the time, but I've walked past it closed.
yeah, he said there's not like there's not a schedule. It's just like when it feels.
And now we get to, like, what I would describe as, like, the grand finale of my time in Chile, because these last, like, 3 to 4 weeks felt like a year and also one day at the same time, and there were just so many things happening. Yeah, so the day after that whole fun day where I went on the walk with Talia, and then we went to Masta, and then tried to go to the ledge after, but it was too cold. But that next day, I went to the Playa Portales, where I met Clemente and Hassan. So Hassan at this point was Lucy's man, and Clemente is his best friend, and so we were playing some volleyball, and that's where we met. And then the next day, you know, I went studying, but that was the start. And then it was La Cumpleaños de la Talia, and so we had to celebrate her 21st, of course. We went to this bar in Viña, and it was so fun. We did get free shots, which is amazing.
Just literally just in you. I get them out. Okay.
Don't look
Wait, just don't put off something else. Sorry, I see the J.
Randy, that
No video. This is all on camera, guys.
It's like good camera quality. Happy birthday!
¡Feliz cumpleaños! so that weekend we went camping spontaneously with these group of Chileans that I really did not know. It was a very spontaneous thing, but we went with Hassan and his friend Clemente and a bunch of their friends. This is where I really got to know Clemente, and we just like talked the entire time, and it was really fun. So we went on a micro to to Laguna Verde, and then we didn't want to pay the boys didn't want to pay like 10 mil for a taxi, so we decided to just walk to the beach where we were going to be camping at, except no one knew where the beach was, and so it ended up being like a 4-mile walk through a bunch of people's private property and through a very dense forest until eventually we got there, and it was so amazing. Oh my gosh, it was so gorgeous, and we had the beach basically all to ourselves, except for a bunch of dogs who followed us. But I can't even describe how good of a time it was. We just hung out and talked, and I got to know Clemente, obviously, but just like as a group we were talking and drinking and made a fire. But that night was the coldest night of my life. I have never, ever, ever felt as cold as I felt trying to sleep that night on the beach. But it was fine. And then the next day was really fun. About half the group left earlier in the morning, but then the rest of us stuck around, which was just the Americans and Clemente and Hassan, and we made lunch with what we could have because the dogs actually stole most of our food. And then we went swimming and we played some volleyball before trekking it back. And it was just an amazing, amazing trip. Hola! Yeah, so we got back to Valparaíso, Viña after that, and I mean at this point it was just really dense in that timeline of having to grind out our ISP, which was, I don't know if I said it, but it was like a 25-page paper that I had to write in Spanish, with like interviews and research. And so what I did for my topic, I was looking at the different beliefs between generations in Chile, specifically in people in Valparaíso, about democracy. And so how do people of different ages think about democracy? And so I used some data from a local polling center and then just some interviews to explore that. So here's me grinding with some time lapses. So at this point, I was hanging out a lot with Clemente, and we were really just getting to know each other. And so very spontaneously the night before, after hanging out in his apartment and him cooking me the, I guess, Chilean meal of pasta with scrambled eggs on top, penne pasta with scrambled eggs. But spontaneously, he invited me to go to his, I guess, hometown where he was kind of raised until he was like 7, called Maitencillo, which is about an hour north of Valparaíso, to visit his grandparents because he had to go there to work. And so I said yes, of course, why not? See another spot and hang out with him some more. And so I did that, and we went to Maitencillo, and I got to meet his grandparents, who were so nice, and his grandma cooked me sopaipillas. Oh, I love sopaipillas. And it was so great. We saw the beach. He took me on some rock scrambling. And it was a really great time. He also had to work where he was like at a real estate luxury apartment complex. So I was able to work on my ISP during that, which was good. But it was a really fun weekend. Got to see another part of the country and meet some really wonderful Chileans, including his little cousins, Maximo Dominga, who we gave an English lesson to, and then watched a very scary movie about the rugby team. But yeah, it was a great weekend, great time. Daisy, hola! Guys, say hello! So beautiful. It was nice. At one point, me and Talia's host family from Putre came down and visited, so we got to grab some Mexican lunch with them, which was fun. I had to record this because there's just an absolutely beautiful night right now. I'm at Santa Maria. Look at that. Look at how gorgeous that is. Absolutely beautiful as I'm leaving the library where I was studying. I love this place. I'm gonna miss it so much. Oh my god, look at that. So gorgeous. This is from one night when me and Clemente went on a walk to a mirador, and look at these lights. This is what Valparaíso looked like at night. Just gorgeous with the hills and the lights. So beautiful. So as I mentioned earlier, I was getting really into rock climbing here. So here's just some photos and videos of me getting into rock climbing. It was so fun. Absolutely a great hobby to pick up because it was cheap and a great place to meet people. In general, I just want to take a minute to highlight how amazing the friends were that I made on this program. I mean, like Estelle, Talia, Lucy, Elena, like everyone just so wonderful, and I had such a great time with all of my friends. Here are just some pictures, and it was wonderful. Quite possibly one of the best memories from the trip, and it might be recency bias, but was our trip to the Cajon de Maipo. So there, I mean, me, Lucy, Talia, Estelle, and Hassan and Clemente all went. We rented a car and we drove to this cabin we found on Airbnb in the Cajon de Maipo. The drive itself was so fun, just like singing and a playlist and looking at the beautiful mountains as Hassan drove us was so fun. And then once we got there, it was obviously awesome. We were able to cook dinner both nights. Hassan made brownies and bread, and it was just really fun, just being silly and hanging out and talking. And then, of course, we went to the actual Cajon de Maipo, which is just gorgeous, so pretty, snow-capped. We were able to just walk and talk and have a little picnic lunch, and it was really fun.
Oh my god.
Show you out. Yeah, what you got? A million could have never thought. Now I'm paralyzed, still stuck in that time when you called it love. Even the sun sets in paradise. I'm out of pain, I'm trying to go. But no matter the change I spend.
Oh, you're filming.
¿Veis los minerales en la tierra?
Okay.
Como los minerales, that's why. The color.
¿Estás vivo? Perfecto. It's okay.
He's just doing it.
Come on, Clemente.
So after we left the cabin and we were driving back, they dropped me and Clemente off in Santiago, and we decided to extend the weekend by doing 2 nights in Santiago, which is just wonderful. So it was rainy when we got there, but actually so romantic and felt like we were in Paris maybe. But it was just so wonderful running through the rain. The first night we went to had meatballs, which is very silly, but then we went to a live bar.
Ikea.
Te encontraré una mañana dentro de mi habitación y prepararás la cama para dos.
The next day we were super lucky, and even though it was supposed to rain, it didn't. So we were able to wake up and kind of take advantage of the day. So we walked first to this park that was really pretty in the middle of Santiago, and then we went around kind of a touristy area to get some souvenirs. And I found this cool bookshop that Clemente showed me, and then we just kept walking around, and it's so amazing, the views of the Andes Mountains from this city, because it's just surrounded by the snow-capped Andes, and it's gorgeous. And apparently we came on a good day because the rain kind of flushed away a lot of the smog, so you were able to so clearly see the mountains. And then we went to Cerro San Cristobal to just see another great, beautiful panoramic view of the city. We kind of had to rush back from there because I had my Zoom interview with a professor. But that was such a great day. We also saw the Moneda, and then, yeah, I cooked us hamburgers for dinner, so muy rico.
Estamos en la cumbre, pero no en la punta.
It's so rainy today. But we went to this beautiful museum. Just went to a poorly designed bathroom. They had free lockers though to store a suitcase for most of the time, which was nice. Yeah, so our last day in Santiago, we were not quite as lucky and the rain was back, but that was fine. So we went to an art museum and the library where we did like cute little drawings that I still currently have hanging up in my room because they're so cute. And then we went to a cafe for me to work on my ISP a little bit more. And then we spontaneously decided to not go home to Valparaiso like we were supposed to that day because Clemente's parents were coming into the city, and so we decided to go back home with them, and we had a nice little lunch with his parents and his sister, and then we went back home, and I met his brother too, and I stayed at their house, just spent the night with his family, who was like so nice and awesome, and especially because I got a little sick that night, but they took such good care of me, and it was such a good night. Valpo or?
You pick up me at the airport.
Is it a jerk? So Clemente fell asleep on the bus ride home while I was pushing through my ISP and finishing that. I did have a cold, but I had to push through and finish my ISP strong. Here, I just wanted to pause, and because I had so many pictures of all the bebidas that we drank while I was in Chile, and I just wanted to pause and show them and just say, you know, how bebidas can be a form of community and can be a way to have connections, and so many memories, so many smiles, so many laughs with all of these chicas and people over the drinks, and I just wanted to give a highlight of that, especially during the next video, which is hilarious when all of us got taken out by this same cold. How to make note of the tea in the Mexican restaurant. On the day before I left Chile, so sad to think about, but the day before I left Chile, me and Clemente walked around Cerro Alegre for a long time and just bought some souvenirs and just explored one last time. Cerro Alegre just reminds me so much of all of the gorgeous street art that is all across Valparaiso. One of the reasons why I just absolutely love the city is there's just art everywhere. Like, you really can't look around and find a plain wall. There's art everywhere, and it's just so vibrant and lovely and gorgeous. So here are some of my favorite like street arts and just ones that I snap pictures of. Last night in Chile, me and my friends, we all went to a Peruvian place, which was really nice, and had lots of laughs and memories shared and just talking, and it was a really, really, really great last night. Beautiful walk with the beautiful Talia on the last day, on this gorgeous day. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful out. Look at the ocean. Bye, Chile! Bye, Chile! And that was it. That was the end of Chile. I had a very tearful goodbye at the airport, and I flew to start my new adventure in Philadelphia. It was an amazing semester, and it went by both so fast and so slow, and I have so many memories, so many more stories than I could fit in this vlog, but just an absolutely amazing time. I am in love with the country, and I learned so much, I grew so much, I met amazing, amazing, amazing people. It was everything I could have asked for and more. Absolutely overfilled my cup, and I'll use the words of Elena that my heart is as full as it is heavy.